Constitutional changes in terms of suggestions from President William Ruto, and he's proposed these changes ostensibly to cure legislative anomalies in the country's governance architecture. Now, among the proposals that Ruto wants Parliament to consider is the establishment of an office of the official leader of opposition, nomination of more women to the National Assembly to achieve the constitutional gender principle. And this also includes entrenching of the national government constituency development, Senate oversight, and national government affirmative action funds, and participation of cabinet secretaries in parliamentary sittings to respond to questions posed by the legislators. Francis Gashuri with more.
In a memorandum dated 9th of December 2022, addressed to the speakers of the bicameral parliament, President William Ruto proposed amendments to the constitution enacted in 2010 and wants members of the two houses to spearhead the process after the Supreme Court in the BBI case affirmed that the president lacks authority to initiate changes to the constitution. 100 days into his tenure as the country's fifth president, after a closely contested state house race on the 9th of August, Ruto has proposed the creation of an office of the official leader of opposition to cure what he says was a constitutional shortfall on the full post-election fate of the minority side. He proposes that Parliament considers an amendment to Chapter 9 of the Constitution to establish the office of the official leader of opposition, whose functions will be provided for in subsequent laws enacted by the House. According to the President, such an office would institutionalize governance, strengthen oversight, and deepen democracy in the country. To enhance parliamentary oversight on the executive, the President proposes amendments to the parliamentary standing orders to facilitate participation of cabinet secretaries or chief administrative secretaries in parliamentary proceedings and enable them respond to questions posed by members of parliament in their capacity as the people's representatives and in execution of their oversight roles. And to resolve the long-standing stalemate on implementation of the gender equity principle, Ruto wants the 13th Parliament to initiate amendments to the country's supreme law to establish a formula that will guide the computation of the gender ratio in the National Assembly. That formula, in a proposed amendment to Article 97(3) of the Constitution, according to the President, should be based only on the number of members elected in the National Assembly from the constituencies and counties. That computation, based on the current numbers in the House, would have 97 members of parliament as a third of the 290 elected members of parliament, adding on to the 47 affirmative seats, popularly known as the woman representatives. With 27 elected female MPs in single-member constituencies, the deficit of 24 female members of parliament would be bridged through nomination. The extra cost, according to the President, would be a smaller price to pay for compliance with the Constitution and resolve a 12-year standoff. The President also voiced his support for the Constitution Amendment Bill currently in Parliament, seeking to entrench the national government constituency development, the Senate oversight, and national government affirmative action funds in the Constitution. This amendment, he says, will help parliamentarians comply with the law instead of employing mischievous legalities and technicalities to deal with constitutional issues. The proposed constitutional amendments, according to the President, should be pursued without taking the Kenyan electorate through a referendum that is potentially divisive and disruptive months after the country came from a general election. Francis Gashuri, Citizen TV.